Good afternoon and welcome to Financial Friday. This is our Community Candor series where we focus on providing tools and resources for small businesses. So welcome if you are new to the show or if you're returning. We have so far in this series covered information and provided resources for businesses to stay afloat during this time. We've talked about small business insurance. We've talked about protecting your business from identity fraud and theft. And today we are talking about playing the long game, making sure that your business succeeds for years to come. And so we've got a great panel with us here today. Actually joining us again, Antonio Stokes and Bill Moeller and Glenn Wilson, who were on June 24th talking with us about financial planning tools and resources for individuals and families as part of our Wealthy Wednesday series. So happy to have them back with us again. And we'll just start with introductions. Good afternoon. My name is Renee Kent, and I am the Special Projects Manager at Communities First, Inc., and have about 20 years of experience in financing community development projects here in the Detroit market, as well as across the state of Michigan. And I'm going to introduce each one of our speakers and let them share with you a little bit about who they are and a little bit about their experience. So I'll go ahead and start with Antonio Stokes.
Hi, excuse me, I'm Antonio Stokes. I'm a financial advisor. I've been in financial services since 1994. I specialize in 4 areas of financial services: investments, mortgage, tax, and business operation consulting. I'm here in the Oak Park area of Michigan, and avid golfer, lover of kids and family, and I love working with small business owners. So looking forward to speaking with you today.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us. And Bill Moeller.
Hello, excuse me, I'm Bill Moeller, and I've been in the financial industry for since 1957, so a long time, and retired about 1.5 years ago, and spent most of my time in the investment side, working with businesses, small businesses, some large businesses, and quite a few nonprofits. So looking forward to being with you. I'm in Flint. We've been in Flint that whole time, and looking forward to visiting with you, and thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Bill. And then Glenn, if you could not only introduce yourself, but also share a little bit about this series, the importance of this series.
Absolutely. Thanks, Renee. I saw you over, Antonio, counting your fingers. They don't go that high, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill definitely has the information. Is always hard coming after him. He said 57 years. Like, I don't know how to introduce myself now. So, Glenn Wilson, President and CEO of Communities First. We are, so excited to be able to put on this series for small businesses today, or and also families. Community Candor was dedicated to answering community needs. As we sat down and talked as a team, we wanted to figure out how can we be responsive as an organization to what was needed. You can't have a name like Communities First and sit along the side when actually people need help and assistance. So we sat down, Renee worked on this project to put together a great topics and thoughts, to put them down on paper to make sure that we were able to give people real-time information that's not going to only meet their immediate need, but meet their long-term financial needs. with their family and or business. So our motto is empowering people and building communities. And we want to make sure that we provide you high quality content that's able to empower you to be successful, but then also connect you to individuals that have great track records that can offer you information either for your business or your family that can help you for years to come. So today, we're playing the long game. I'm very excited to be here. And just, and I guess I should have said a little about communities first, but, we've been around 10 years. And it's very exciting to see how the organization has grown over the years. So a lot of things that you hear that is things that we've actually implemented in our business over time, and we're always still learning things to implement. So I'm really looking forward to the discussion today.
Thank you, Glenn. And before we jump into this discussion, just a couple of reminders. We ask that if you're joining us, if you can register, we will, on the screen, you'll find a link, and then we'll also share it in the comments as well. But please register. That's how we can share this information and let you know about upcoming workshops and discussions that we're having. So definitely, please register. Please share this information, host a watch party. The best way to get this information out there is to share. So register and share. This morning, we're going to be talking about tools and resources for small businesses, and that includes nonprofits as well. And so, as a small business owner or the leader of an organization, it's very important not only to know how to operate in your industry and do well, but also how to invest your capital wisely, how to diversify your funds and grow your business, and think about the long term, how to have a healthy financial future. And so we're going to talk about, what kind of legacy you can leave with your organization or your small business. And we're just going to go around with whoever wants to answer this. But, where do people start? Where's a good place to start? You spend so much time working on your business plan and focusing on whatever it is that your business specializes in. Where do you start when thinking about long-term having a healthy financial future? And when is the right time to start?
Well, I'll answer the latter question first. I think the right time to start is immediately, is now, it's yesterday. There is no wrong time to start planning for the long term. And with that being said, then, where do you start? You start with right where you are. You start with what do you have in your hand, okay? And you start by taking time out to think about the goals, think about where you want to go, where you want to end up, who do you want to account for, what do you want to account for, what do you want your life to be like, what do you want to happen to your business, what do you want to happen to your employees if something were to happen to you. Some of these things are daunting to think about. In today's environment, we need to be thinking about them because things can change very quickly, in our lives. So I think probably the biggest thing for us to do right now is to take time out as a business owner, take the time to answer some questions, and to begin to share that with a good group of people that are close to you, that are experts in their fields, that can help you develop a plan.
Thank you, Antonio. Were there any other comments?
Yeah, I certainly would agree with Antonio. The time is now, any place. And I think you have to the last point of his comments, I think you do have to develop relationships that will help you grow, will help you in times that aren't so good, such as where we might be now or in the near future, and what to look for in things when things are really good. What you're planning for. Obviously, you wouldn't be in business if you weren't planning to grow your business. And so I guess I have two kind of main things out there. If you're a nonprofit, you should have, if you're doing investments, either bonds or stocks, not necessarily, if all your money is in banks, you don't necessarily need them. But if you have some money in bonds or stocks or things like that, your company or your nonprofit must have or should have an investment policy statement saying what you are looking for as far as uh, uh, investing the money you have. Which money is set aside in a special fund, maybe government funds that have come in that you have to work with or something of this nature, and they all have restrictions. And so you want to put those aside as not not restricted or as restricted, and then the rest of it is unrestricted. Unrestricted. The main thing too uh, that you have to develop I think, a good relationship with preferably two banks. One uh, local bank or regional bank, and one maybe with a big bank, uh, in case that you have something that comes along that needs immediate funds and so forth. Now, in dealing with banks, I've learned over the years, and I first was told this when I first moved to Flint in 1958. I hired a former, or just a retired senior vice president from Genesee Bank, which is at that time one of the two largest banks in Flint. And he gave me a lesson on dealing with bankers, which I think is a good one. Anyway, he said, remember, when you walk into the bank, whether it's for a loan or anything else, you are the customer and you're shopping and you're the customer, and you shouldn't be nervous, and you should ask for what you want, and you want to make one of those bankers, and hopefully one of the top bankers, into a relationship person that you want to confide in and have him either on your board or have him uh, help you as far as, look, we need your help to grow this business. And, would you mind being, if we bring our money over to you, we would expect you to help us develop what we want to develop. And here's the plan. And that's what Antonio referred to. Here's the plan. Here's our business plan. Can you help us refine this? But remember, the big thing in that whole thing is that you are the customer, and if they want your business, they can see your business grow, they're going to go overboard to help you. If they don't, you'll know that soon enough. And there are other banks in the whole area. The reason I mentioned a big bank and like a national bank, Chase would be about the only one in the Flint area that we have. But you need at least an access or to go down and introduce yourself to the Chase people. You need the local banks, which I would refer to as Huntington and maybe Fifth Third and a couple others in that nature. You shouldn't rule out either the possibility, although it's not used very often, of credit unions. If you're looking to park some money like in a CD, their rates are tremendously higher, and they're insured to the same degree that commercial banks are. So anyway, that I guess would be my kick off.
Thank you, Bill. You just dropped a lot of information, and we definitely want to dig more into some of that as we go along. I just want to provide a base, as we go into this discussion, in that the information that we're talking about today as it relates to small businesses and nonprofit organizations is not just for those organizations and businesses that are established. This information is for an organization, no matter where you are, whether you're established or you're just starting out. This knowledge can be useful to you. So don't feel like we're only speaking to those that are six-figure, seven-figure organizations. This information is pertinent no matter where you are in your journey. And so, starting with what I heard both Antonio and Bill mention as it relates to building relationships. So I heard it come from both of you. Let's talk about that a little bit and take a step back and think about, what's the benefit of creating a relationship and reaching out to a financial advisor that can help, walk you through some of your planning and help you structure investments that will take you from where you are to where you want to go. And so I don't know, Antonio, and then maybe Bill, if you want to speak to, what benefits a financial advisor provides for businesses and nonprofits.
I wanted to kind of reemphasize something that Bill said about the bank relationship. You are the customer. I'm going to say that again because he said it and it just rang out with me. You are the customer. Okay. You have needs that you have to communicate to that banker. So a lot of times customers, especially if you don't feel knowledgeable about something, you fear talking with the bankers. You automatically think that you don't have what it takes to, like you don't deserve to be there to receive their services. But it's just the opposite. You're the reason they exist. Without you as the customer, bankers, financial advisors, we don't exist. I think that the reason it rang out for me was because I remembered when I started one of my first businesses back in the early 2000s. I never talked to a financial advisor. And I had, let's just say, significant amount of money in the bank. And never once did a financial advisor ever reach out to me proactively to say, hey, what are you doing? Where are you trying to go or anything like that? Now I could, maybe point the finger and say they should have done something. But instead, I'll look at that and say, you know what? That was a costly lesson for me. Because if I would have done what Bill just suggested, which is go into the bank, remind them that I am the customer, that I have goals and I have a plan that I'm trying to execute. How can you help me get there? Then I may have received some information that I did not get at a time when I really needed it. So I just wanted to reemphasize, proactively seek out the help of your banker, your financial advisor, an attorney, insurance rep, tax prep, bookkeeper, any of those professional titles, any of those services that help your business function. You are responsible for engaging them more than they are responsible for finding you. So if you're tuning in, the good thing is you're seeking out the advice. This is one of those steps, gaining information, gaining the knowledge. So I think your question was, how do you select the financial advisor? Was that your question?
Yeah.
So some of the very basic things is that you want to, try to find someone who's licensed and regulated. I like to say that, the people you deal with your financial matters and the things that are most important with you, you want to make sure that they are licensed. They have some kind of skill set to be able to perform the services that you're looking for. And one of the ways of doing that is the practitioner, the financial advisor. I'm a financial advisor. We are licensed, which means we're regulated by someone. We have an overseer, and that's good. You need to know that that person is regulated. So, you want the advisor to be licensed, and then you want to know that your money, your investments are also under some type of oversight. So, you want to make sure your advisor is licensed and regulated. If you have any kind of special financial needs. Let's say you have a child with special needs, okay, for example, or something of that nature. I know we're talking about businesses, but if you have anything that's unique, you want to look for certifications that they may also have. And then you want to inquire about their years of experience. But let me caution you, don't run away from a new person because they may not have 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience. One of the benefits of working with someone new in the business is time. And when you're seeking them out, you need someone to spend time with you so they can understand what you're doing and what you're going through. And a lot of times that newer person may have the time or bandwidth to sit down with you for, the necessary amount of time. And you can go to brokercheck.finra.org. That's a way of checking out that financial advisor, making sure that they have the proper credentials. But those are the technical things you look for. But obviously, none of those things really work if they can't, just engage with you. You need to be comfortable with the person you're talking to. You need to feel like they're listening to you, that they're going to partner with you. Ideally, you want to choose someone who you feel is partnering with you to help you bring about your plan, or helping you to achieve the goal that you have. So ultimately, I would say, check off the credentials. That's who you're going to select from. That's your pool of, applicants, if you will. And then get comfortable with the person to make sure that you feel like, you can engage with them. You can ask them questions, and you feel like they really are there for you, and they're going to give you the attention that you need. I think those are the simple things that you try to look for when selecting a financial advisor.
Thank you. That's a good point. And we'll make sure that we post that in the comments, brokercheck.finra.org. And if you have any questions in the audience, please post those in the comments and we'll make sure that we address those as we go along. So just jumping back into the conversation, thank you, Antonio. That was, a great point that both you and Bill made with regards to when you're seeking out financial advice, either with a financial planner or working with a banking institution. Remember that you are the customer, and if you're not getting the information that you're looking for, if you're not getting the time that you need and the attention that you need, you can shop around. You can take your business elsewhere. And, maybe initially a big, large bank does not fit your needs, so you can go to a local bank or even a credit union. You have options, and you should be looking into all of those because you want to have a long-term, relationship with the organizations that are going to be managing your money.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add something to that. And I guess Bill probably want to add something possibly, but real quick is that when Antonio, I like what he said, but I also want to caution. And when I say caution, it's because it's like it's two prongs of it. Like you say, find out to make sure that people are credentialed. You have to make sure you do that. And just because you're comfortable with the person does not mean they are the best person to deal with your money. And what I mean by that is some people are like great at relationships. They can sit down with you. They can tell you how great you are, how they're going to do all this stuff for you. You feel great around them. You're just like, okay, yes, like, they might have a good charisma, but at the end of the day, they really shouldn't be dealing with your money. So they mentioned, make sure that they have the credentials that they have, because you have certain people that are not credentialed at all that will be providing you advice. And that could be from family members, that can be from lay persons, that can be from family friends or people that's offering you those type of things that you just, so be careful with the individuals. Just because you're comfortable with them does not mean that's the best person to deal with your money. Look at their track record, and I think that's what Bill and Antonio spoke to earlier, and ask them for references to make sure they're doing things successfully, and then look them up on that broker site as well to follow up on that.
I'd like to add to the other two. First of all, Antonio said, which is I believe in totally, don't overlook the young financial advisor or the young banker, because they are going to give you maybe the best time, the most time, and maybe the most up-to-date things that are happening. And I think that's good. A kind of a little a personal story on that. When I moved to Flint, I was 22. And how do you convince somebody to do business with you when you were 22? So anyway, I started out prospecting, and Saturday mornings, in those days, everybody in Flint worked Saturday mornings. So I started out with a bunch of business cards in my pocket. And I started at the top of the Mott Foundation building and knocked on every door and told my story. And some people were nice, some people slammed the door in my face, but I thought I had a good story to tell. And anyway, I got to the 5th floor and I knocked on this door, and opening the door was C.S. Mott. Now, I'm from Detroit, so I didn't know C.S. Mott very well. But I introduced myself, gave him my spiel, and he said, well, you must be new in town. I said, I am. Why? And he said, well, all the brokers in town know that I think that I don't do business in Flint. And I said, well, do you? And he said, no. But he said, would you like to know why? I said, I'd love to know why. So he invited me into his office for an hour and a half and gave me an hour and a half lesson on investments that was equal to about 2 years of investment advice in the classroom. But you get that even if you don't get a client, you have to listen to people and what they're looking for. And listening, as all of you know, because you do it so well, is really the important part. And you'd asked me to talk about new businesses. And I hate to keep using personal examples, but my granddaughter lives in Paris and has become a Paris citizen now. But she was starting a business a couple of years ago, a photography business, commercial photography business. She primarily does the fashion industry, has had a lot of very successful shoots, as they call them, on the runway there and so forth. But before the French government would give her a license, being a foreigner at that point, to do business, she had to take about 4 books of financial things and her investment plan and where was she going to get the money and how much money was she going to make. And she said she doesn't have a car. So she said she literally put them in a little red wagon and took them down to the government offices and went through them from the red wagon. But they, every year, to renew her license, they request a continuation of the financial plan and exactly where they are now. And that's, I think, an important thing for a new company. And it's done well by her, even though, as all of us, her business was interrupted in France by the COVID. And that's what you have to plan for. You have to plan for the good and you have to plan for the bad. But if you get somebody with it, I wouldn't recommend necessarily the government here, but if you get somebody who's knowledgeable and just as as Antonio mentioned, you know, make sure that they want to partner with you. Because if they partner with you and you partner with them, chances are you're both going to be very successful. And going back 1 minute to the younger broker, if you use a younger broker, just be sure, as Antonio said, to get his credentials. Now, he may not have a lot of credentials because he's younger, but make sure his firm, if he works for a firm, does. And you can check out the firm, because if he works for a knowledgeable and successful firm, he's going to be looked after by them as far as his compliance issues go. So anyway, those are my two things, one on the original business, but it's so important, as Antonio mentioned, to get that broker, to get that banker, to get that credit person with you and be on your team and help you along. And by getting a relationship, and Antonio and I both have talked about this, I don't necessarily mean going and taking a guy out or a woman out to lunch. You have to set up an appointment with them, either to meet. It would be ideal if they would come to your office and meet. If not, you go to the bank or wherever and meet with them and see if you have a relationship, can develop a relationship with them. If you can't, you'll know it right off the bat, probably. If you can, then go on and see what comes of it. But anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you, Bill. And lunch is okay. Bankers like to eat, so.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean don't take them to lunch, but you might do the program first in your office and invite them to lunch after, or invite them to lunch the day after or the day before. Might be good to invite them the day before, come to think of it. Then you at least know what kind of person he or she is.
Absolutely. And that was more for me personally, just because I like to eat. So.
And you're a recovering banker, right?
I'm still recovering from
You're right.
but no, this has been good. We've talked a lot about how businesses, nonprofit organizations can connect and start forming those relationships. And I think it would be helpful to go into maybe some storytelling, some examples of how, for Antonio and Bill, how you've worked with businesses to help them with a financial plan or investment strategy. And then Glenn, if you can maybe speak to, as a director of a nonprofit organization and former small business owner, how a financial plan has impacted your organizations. So, Bill, I'll give you a second and maybe start with Antonio.
Okay. You know, I was trying to think of a couple. Well, I have a couple different client experiences that came to mind. One was a new entrepreneur. He was an inventor of sorts, an engineer by trade. He invented a product for sale in the recreational industry. And I knew him from the golf world that we play in. But, you know, he said he had created a product and he wanted to, you know, sell it and all this great stuff. He had already done a lot of work on his own. But when he came to me, one of the things I realized that he was missing at the time was really structure. He knew his business. He knew he's a practitioner of his business. He knew how to make his product. He knew how to sell his product somewhat, but he did not know how to run a business. and he did not really understand all the, the operational things that needed to happen. So one of the areas that I ended up helping him with was organization. So there were 4 things that I ended up, consulting with him on and kind of helping him understand it without becoming an expert in it, but understand what has to happen and how he has to interact with each area. So there are 4 things that I call, these are the most common things that I have observed for new entrepreneurs or new business owners. At the top of them all, legal structure. How that business is structured is very important, and it impacts how you have to carry out certain steps. Are you a sole proprietor? Are you a LLC? Are you a single member LLC? Or are you a multi-member LLC? Are you an S corporation? Are you a C corporation? Or are you a nonprofit? Okay, all these different legal entities impact how you have to carry out certain things. So we talked through his structure, and then we went into what I call bookkeeping. I call it bookkeeping. I like to try to keep things simple for people to understand and to be able to grasp on. Some people call it accounting, but when you say accounting, you think degreed, you think GAAP, you think principles and rules that most people, let alone business owners, have a firm knowledge of. So bookkeeping becomes very important. So I begin to show them the relationship between doing their business, what happens, how you record a sale, how to do banking, how to compile your records, how to communicate and share those records with either a bookkeeper or a CPA, and how to review financial statements. Now, these are, 4-year degree type of,
Courses.
classes that I'm providing, but I try to give them they have to have the overview of why it's necessary. So once we get through the bookkeeping and getting them organized, then we look at their financials. I help them review those financial statements, that income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flows, to determine what things they would need. From an investment standpoint, 2 of the most common things that I perform and I see business owners needing is tax preparation. After you get through your financials, you got your tax preparation and then a retirement plan, especially when we think about investments, because a retirement plan impacts your taxes. It impacts your ability to save down, for the long run. Most business owners aren't thinking about retirement. They're just getting started. But just like when you were an employee, you're not supposed to think about retirement. You're supposed to fund it. You're supposed to contribute to it. It's just something you check off the list. Am I contributing to a retirement plan? Yes, I am. Check it off the list. Go on about your business. Keep running your business. But those types of things will help you when it comes time to do your taxes, to prepare your business taxes and ultimately your personal taxes. And those are, so I'll summarize: bookkeeping, retirement plan, tax preparation, and then your legal structure. Those are the 4 areas that I find that I help business owners when they come to me for the first time. This particular person that I was referring to, this particular client, so they came to me under the umbrella of consulting. So after I consulted with them, it turns out that I helped them refine their business structure. Well, they end up hiring me for bookkeeping services. I set up their retirement plan and prepared their business and personal taxes. Then I introduced other professionals, an attorney, to help them with some of the legal matters that we identified. I also brought in someone who specialized in marketing to help them with the sale of their product and the revenue generation of their business. and then introduce them to some other supplier level types of individuals that I felt, may be good people for them to meet. In essence, I opened up my network to them as a result. So for me, as a provider, I was able to help them and help my business even by picking up a new client. So to this day, we're really good friends. Their business is doing well. And we set up a schedule to talk on a regular basis. Every October, for example, we get their financial statements together. We look to see how they're doing so that we could prepare for the year end and not get to the year end and then figure out, well, how are we going to prepare for what has already happened? So I think, forming that relationship and working through what they were doing helped me to educate them on how to run the business. One last thing. The one thing that I gave them that I require of them as a new entity is you've got to have 1 hour a month to run your business. If you don't have an hour to run your business, you shouldn't be in business. You shouldn't be a business owner. You should be an employee. I need 1 hour for you to sit down and look at your books, look at your financials, look at your relationships. And that's not enough time. I'm just saying, can you start with an hour to look at those things, to make sure that your company is healthy and can continue to, be successful the way you're going. So that's my one example of a new person, a new business entity, and how we help them with their financial plan.
Thank you. That was good. I love the 2 points of preparing ahead of time so that you're not waiting till the end of the year to plan for what you've already done. And then taking time to invest in your business. We're not just talking about investing money, but we're talking about actually investing time in your business, at least an hour a month. Otherwise, you need to analyze why you're in business if you don't even have time to invest in its growth. So that's good. Glenn, do you want to share an example or a story as a director of an organization and former business owner, small business owner?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it's a couple ways I could take this conversation. It's one, I serve on a couple boards, rather, a couple foundation or, other boards of certain nonprofits. And then also, I've had my own business, and then, also just with Communities First. So I got a couple of different aspects, but one is that as an organization, you can look at some good examples of either one, establishing endowments when it comes to nonprofit organizations, for long-term sustainability. You can start an endowment. I think what is least is about, and Bill could probably help me with it, but I think it's about $10,000. It's probably the smallest amount you can probably start an endowment with. But you can have it where you can put money in either, quarterly, yearly, monthly, whatever you want to do, from an organization. This is for a nonprofit level, that you can set up these either endowments or trusts, where then you can spin off the residuals, where it can give you long-term cash flow into the organization. Also, another good way to invest your money is put your money in interest-bearing accounts. One of the problems that I see with certain organizations is that they'll have a certain amount of cash capital in the bank, and they'll just have it in a regular account. And I think, when Bill and Antonio mentioned this earlier about having relationships, one thing about your banker, you can ask them about either short-term CDs, that you can put your cash in, where, they can be in there for, 12 months. So if you have, excess capital, but you don't want to, but you want to be able to have access to it, you can talk to them about those things and say, hey, I need something to be liquid for me as soon as possible. So for us as an organization, we've looked at doing, different types of things when it comes to our financials. And I'll tell you, the great thing is that you're planning for the tough times, you're not really planning for the good times. Because when you have good times, you know, you got the cash that's just coming in the door. But like right now, you'll see that a lot of the organizations that are really, I'll say, surviving this time right now would be your organizations, especially when it comes to the nonprofit levels, that have those residuals that's coming in. So when things were going great, it allows you to have some, you know, cash that's sitting there, and you're able to go in and dig into those things. So those are just a couple aspects that I can give you: is interest-bearing accounts, looking at endowments, and then also looking at like short-term CD, you know, investments as well, and then also having, you know, conversations with, you know, your financial planner for your nonprofit organization to get you invested in the market. So then your money is actually working for you and not working against you. Another quick financial tip when it comes to organization investing is make sure that your money is secure. Don't just leave all your money sitting in one account. You know, that your bank is, you know, or where your money's sitting is FDIC, you know, insured. I know we don't have to get into all those details, but to make sure that, you know, if you have to have multiple accounts, that your money is insured. So if anything happens, the bank is able to cover those losses.
Absolutely. So, just to summarize, thank you for that, Glenn. Definitely make sure that your money is making money for you. So don't just have it sitting somewhere. Make sure that you're earning interest. And back to Antonio's point earlier, it's definitely important to talk with the right financial advisor and or business consultant that can not only help you with the questions that you have, but can also open up those networks and connect you with other resources to help you get to where you're going. One thing that I don't think was necessarily mentioned was maybe succession planning. So oftentimes there's an emphasis on, you know, growing your business. But what do you want to happen to your business if you can no longer run it? Do you want your business to continue? And I don't know if Glenn, Bill, or Antonio, if either one of you wants to speak on succession planning.
Yeah, I have some, but I think Bill. I know Bill just, you know, did something great with succession planning. So I'll let Bill talk about some more succession planning. Then I'll just come after that.
You know, obviously, succession planning is very, very important. But you're right. Most business owners, especially in their you know, early years, the last thing they're thinking about is what am I going to do later, as far as keeping the business alive. A lot of it is family businesses. A lot of it isn't, and you don't want to have a great company and all of a sudden something happens to you and it's either split up or dies or sold, and your dreams and everything that you build up are gone with it. So I think it's very, very important to sit down with your lawyer or your financial planner. And by the way, I think I was going to mention Antonio's remarks were right on the dot. I mean, all of that stuff is so important. And you know, I was thinking to myself when he was talking about it, I had my own company for about 8 years back in the 60s and 70s. And it was a good company. We were a broker. And then I got to thinking about the third year, I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is my company and I don't know a hell of a lot about it because I'm out on the road selling or doing this and that. And I better get with it or, you know, or this is going to go in ways that I don't want it to go. So it is so that 1 hour a month, or which could probably develop into 1 week a month, is so important for the business owner to really get to know his company. In my case, we had several directors, some of which were bankers, and believe me, they wanted me to know our company. And so I think that's so important to get to know your company. And one thing is a little off target from what you're asking for, that we're all going through right now is the government subsidies and a very, very tough time. I know that Communities First was successful in getting one of the subsidies for their continuation during this period. But I was aghast. Yes, I think it was Sunday or Monday. Maybe all of you saw it, but in the front page of the Detroit Free Press, it said there are 700 and I believe 743 restaurants in the state of Michigan, and they're all having a tough time if they're going to even survive. And most of them got funds, either the payroll thing or the small business deal. But out of 745, one minority-owned business, one black owner got a subsidy. Now, that is shameful in all regards. And I wrote Dan Kilby and sent him a copy of the article. And I don't know how you can, I don't know how in this day and age, or any day and age, you can have the federal government inadvertently, maybe, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, discriminate to such a degree. And I could understand it if it was 745 to 200, but I can't understand when it's 745 to 1. That doesn't make any sense. That's my political statement for the day.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Bill. And I know I said I wanted to just add a little to the succession planning piece real quick, but I would say, Bill, I'm just going to tell a little of your story, and then I'll talk a little bit about, and then Antonio, I guess if you want to add to it, I'm going to try to get through it real quick. But one thing I would say I respect about Bill, he had someone that he kind of helped train up in the financial, and I'm thinking about Adam here, one of the people that you helped train up in the financial world, Bill. But I think he was with Bill probably, 20 years, right, Bill? He was with Bill for 20 years, working alongside of him. So when Bill decided to retire, it was a very easy transition, for clients thinking about, succession planning when it came to financial planning because of the relationships that he built. That also gave me some perspective on things as well. But one of the things is, if you can't see your business without you, then I call that more or less you're self-employed. I think entrepreneurs and self-employment are two different things. And that's just my thought process, because self-employment is when your business can't run without you. You want to do everything. You don't want to hire people to take things on in order for you to do less things. So then you can more or less focus on the business growth and the trajectory. But entrepreneurs, to me, really think of ways to start businesses, really look at ways to basically phase themselves out of as much responsibility as possible and get the business running without them. And so even as a nonprofit organization, one thing that, I'm very cognizant of, even being the founder or co-founder of Communities First, is making sure that when I'm no longer here, that this organization can survive. And you have to have a mindset of growth, and you have to have a mindset of succession, and making sure that you're documenting things, and making sure that you're making investments that you're thinking about for the long term. So succession planning, Renee, thanks for bringing that up and pointing that out, but it's very important to make sure that you're looking at succession planning. And guess what? Succession might not always include the person that you want to succeed you. That's the other thing, because a lot of businesses I've noticed, not in just minority communities, but a lot of times it happens that if the person's kid doesn't want the business, then people would just either just let it go to crap because, hey, my kid don't want it, so I don't care, but they know it's making great money. Look at that person that's been there with you for the last 15 or 20 years, working side by side. Don't let businesses die. Keep them going. Keep them going.
Thank you, Glenn. And just a quick reminder, we are answering questions as they show up in the comments. So if there are any questions, we've got a couple of minutes left. Go ahead and post them and we'll make sure that we get to them. And if you haven't already, please register. We show it periodically on the screen and also in the comments, the link to register. That's how we can get information to you. There's the registration link going through now. So please do that. And I just want to jump back to Bill's comment earlier. You know, that comment about equity and having access to the subsidy dollars and not seeing those dollars flowing through to our communities is part of the reason why we're doing this session, so that individuals and families, as well as small businesses and nonprofit organizations, can have the information they need to, put together their savings plans, put together, have the information they need with regards to credit, understanding, some of the scams out there and not, falling for those traps. Whether it's in your business or your personal information, and also just having access to people who can, whether it's financial planning, CPAs, legal advice, that's why we're doing this series, so that we can make sure that, there's equitable access to these tools and resources, so that people can be ready to access those resources when they become available. So please share this information if you know of an organization or a business that could use this information to really help take them to that next level, to help them grow. Please share this information. And if there are topics that we're not covering that you want information on, please let us know, because we are looking to be that resource and fill those gaps. So we've got a couple of minutes left and we've covered a lot. But I'd just like to give time for each of our speakers to go around and share whatever you want that maybe we didn't cover today, whether it's a personal story or some information that you think a small business or a nonprofit could use, or maybe it's just summarizing something that was shared today that you want to make sure that people take away with them. Okay, so I'll start with Antonio, and then go to Bill, and then Glenn.
Okay, thanks. I think the thing that I wanted to leave you with was kind of a continuation of the succession plan. And I wrote down the word protection. Business owners, a lot of times, they don't see how certain services or products really benefit their bottom line. But we kind of mentioned a few of the issues. One thing I think a business owner should really have, especially if you're all into the business, you don't have a secondary employment type of strategy, is disability insurance. I just want to name it as a product. It's something to research. Disability insurance is very important because death doesn't have the same impact on a person's life. You personally are not going to be worried about life anymore if you were to pass away. So disability, on the other hand, now impacts your household in a totally different way. So think about disability insurance. Also, a key man insurance policy would be important. That's one of the tools that you can use to help further your business. Those are just some of the things I want you to think about as a business owner as protective strategies, and they also help impact your bottom line. So they're business expenses, possibly tax deductions that can also help you for the end of the year planning. That would be it.
Thank you. And Bill?
No, I would certainly concur on all of that. Unfortunately, in the last year or so, I've had to use some of that. And Antonio, I think that you're exactly right. Other than that, I think I want to thank Communities First for putting on this series to help people. and it's very encouraging, and it's been an honor to participate. Thank you.
And Glenn, before you start, we did have a question just pop up as it relates to startup small businesses. And, as we mentioned earlier, all of these resources are not just for existing businesses. This is, for whatever stage you are in your journey. And so small businesses should feel like they have the ability to access and create relationships with large and small banks and or credit unions, as well as financial advisors, business consultants. And what we're going to do is we're going to share Antonio's contact information. And then again, that's why we want you to register so that we can definitely get information to you. But we will be sharing Antonio's contact information as a resource. Again, whether you have an existing established business or you have a startup small business that you're working with as well. And then, Glenn, before you finish us out, any other comments for startup small businesses or resources that the group would like to share?
I mean, the only thing that I could share about as far as insurances for small businesses is things that people, I think, the things that he mentioned was right. Disability, key life, key man insurance, those different things. You can really talk to almost any insurance company and ask them, do they have a business line? If you're going to be looking for good business lines of insurance, it's usually good to talk to, a solid company that's been around for a while. And I'm not saying you can't go with new companies, but make sure that the companies that they deal with, which sometimes you can get that through a planner, are companies that's been around for the long haul. Because what I found is, as a business and running a nonprofit organization, you can you can talk to an insurance agent, tell them you're looking for the cheapest price possible, and then what they'll do is send you a they'll send you a company that's only been started 24 months, an insurance company, and they don't really have any long track record. So it's making sure that you're talking to the right people and making sure that those resources are available for small businesses. So I'll just add that piece about insurances.
Thank you. And then Antonio, can you add your contact information to the chat box so that we can get that out to the viewers? Thank you. And then Glenn, do you want to share any last comments? Or was that your last comment?
Yeah, no, yeah, I can share a few last comments. The one good thing that you will realize is that, like, we brought people on here to be able to offer you information to empower you to make a decision, right? And the decision, like Antonio says, is to make it today, to actually do something and don't sit around. And Bill spoke a lot about relationships. Antonio did as well. The thing is, it's on you, right? And as the business owner, sometimes we're so busy running the business that we forget to actually put the work in. And when I say put the work in, I'm talking about the additional work to actually make sure that our businesses are lasting long term. Like Bill said, he didn't even know what was happening in the business. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people that are online today that have no clue what's happening in your business because you're so busy just doing the work. So take the time to make sure that your business lasts without you. Sit down with a financial planner, insurance company, and figure out things that you can do to make sure that your business stays around for the long haul. Thank you, Bill and Antonio for being on, and Renee, you're doing a great job with moderating. And just continue to share this information. Sign up. That's all the information I have. I guess I'll say today, Renee, before I take your closing remarks.
Okay. I'll just add, don't get discouraged. Working in the banking industry for a number of years, I said no way more times than I said yes. But my goal was always to create relationships with clients or potential clients. And some of the best relationships that I created over the years were with people that I never actually did a deal with. So just listen to that. Some of the best relationships that I created with organizations and businesses as a banker were organizations that I actually didn't do business with. And the partnership there was being able to connect them to my network and to other resources to help them get and take their business or their nonprofit where they wanted it to go, where they needed it to go. So those relationships, they may not necessarily end up in a direct loan or a direct banking relationship, but the relationship is more than that. It's about accessing networks and opening up those networks to guide you to the resources where you're trying to go. So that is the end of our show today. And I just want to let you know what we have coming up. Next Wednesday is our Wealthy Wednesday series, where we focus on information for individuals and families. And next Wednesday, we will be talking about identity fraud safeguards. Can you spot a scam? And so we'll have a special guest on talking through that. And then the following week, we are back to Financial Fridays, and we'll be talking about money tips for small businesses. So thank you again for joining us. This series is sponsored by Fifth Third, and Community Candor is hosted by Communities First. Thank you again to our speakers. And just a quick reminder, don't forget to complete the census. Go to 2020census.gov if you haven't already. And I know everybody listening has, but I'm sure you know somebody who hasn't. So make sure that they fill out their census, because that's how we get funding in our communities. It's not just the government being nosy. It's how you get money in your community. So thank you. Have a great Friday, great weekend, and we can't wait to see you again next week.